Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Black and Abroad, an interview series highlighting the lived experiences of Black expats around the world. I'm Kendall Tyson, your host, licensed therapist, and fellow Black expat. We have an amazing episode in store for you today. And with that, I would like to welcome our newest guest, Shar Wynter.
Hello.
I'm so glad that you're here.
Yes, I cannot wait for this discussion because our last talk was so good.
Yeah, it was amazing. Just the way that we got connected and then being able to come on expat chats. It was like it was kismet.
Yeah, it was so organically just like this in the timing too, with everything going on, being the new year and some events happening, with recent passings in the mainstream media. So it was just really, really timely. And our community got a lot from it. I would definitely tell you that.
It felt so good to be able to share that information with you with great company. So, I'm sure we'll do more of this in the future.
Absolutely.
Well, let me introduce our audience to you, Shar. Shar is a social entrepreneur who promotes racial equity, social advocacy, and community empowerment. She is the founder and CEO of Xpat Inc. and creator of the Expat App with an X, which connects the global Black community that works, studies, and lives abroad. With representation from over 120 countries and territories across the globe, the app includes the world's largest online directory for Black expats, nomads, and study abroad students. I am a member, I can attest to that. Equipped with insights from her global experience, Sharolyn is on a mission to improve the social mobility and overall well-being of the Black community by providing exposure and access to experiences, networks, and opportunities abroad. Originally from Detroit, the Spelman grad, currently resides in Lisbon, Portugal, where she devotes her time to growing the expat community, exploring new cultures, and investing in passion projects. I am so excited and glad to have you here with us today.
Happy to be here.
So, tell me, let me just say this. I did not know that you went to Spelman. Girl, that was my dream school since I was 10.
I went on the Black college tour in high school, and from the moment I touched down, I said, "Oh, okay, I'll be going to Spelman." Like I was gonna do whatever it took because it was just, you know what I mean. You know how you same way when I came to Portugal, I just felt like I belonged. I was like, man, it's just so much excellence there, and one of the best decisions of my life. Really, really one of the best decisions of my life going there. The sisterhood is unmatched, and so it's the experience. So
yeah, I have a few friends that have graduated from Spelman, and I have some from Morehouse. I actually lived in Atlanta for 2 years after I graduated from UT. And my sister, while she was at UT in Knoxville, so University of Tennessee, running track, girl, I love all things Spelman. I love Atlanta. I love the culture.
It's such a great experience. Anybody listening, if you have young ladies who are, looking at colleges, highly recommend. I mean, any of the HBCUs, because the HBCU experience is just unmatched. Like it is, it's hard to describe it because you just gotta experience it.
Yeah.
But even after leaving, there's just an ultimate network, like a automatic connect with people who've gone and studied at HBCUs when we see or meet each other abroad or anywhere else in the world.
Right, because they're everywhere. I mean, I went to my PWI.
Well, trust me, I went to PWI for grad school. So yeah, I was at NC State.
Okay, and I'm thinking of an HBCU for my doctorate in counseling at Hampton. Nice. They have a great online PhD in counseling program. So
I might get to have that experience some way.
Right.
I love that.
So, before we get into the meat of what we're going to discuss, I always like to start with asking guests, who are you? Who is Shar? Who would you say you are?
Oh, man. So on paper, founder of Xpat, but off paper, I am a lover of all things travel. I'm like travel obsessed. I love the way that I feel and how I can be present when I'm traveling. So that's just something that really brings me joy. And I like exploring new cultures and meeting people. And I love scrapbooking, gelato. So I center myself around the things that I love and just really go for it. I'm like, and if I realize I don't like something, then I'm like, all right, try something new. So pretty I would say ambitious overall
Right.
because when I set my mind to do something, it's really no talking me out of it. So yeah.
I hear you. I'm wondering, with all of the innovation that you've been able to engage in, the spaces that you're working in, how has that spirit of travel and living by your own terms really manifested itself in the way that you're living now?
Oh, well, one of the things like travel, it forces you to almost challenge, things you've been like the way you've been socialized because you start to get exposure to different lifestyles, to different
Yeah,
ways of thinking, living, existing. And so the more places I go to and see, I'm like, wait a minute, do I have to work a 9 to 5 my whole life and wait until retirement to, enjoy my life? Do I have
exactly.
to be married at a super young age? Do I have to spend all this money on a wedding when I can spend it on a gap year? Like, I started challenging so many things. And it was through the exposure, right? Because even like as a young kid, one of the most impressionable trips was a trip back to my mother's country. Both my parents are from Jamaica. And
Okay.
I went to the country where my mother is from, like not the city tourist part, but like the real country into the mountains. And with very little like material things, because Detroit is very materialistic and all these things. Um, like my family was happy, self-sustained, and all. So I started questioning, you know what I mean, like materialism, consumerism,
Yeah.
all these things that I think in the States are really programmed into your head and start thinking about. So at a really young age, that idea of like, I guess you could say lifestyle by design, like designing a life that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
The seed was planted because I started challenging things. I was like, "Yeah, that don't make sense."
I
You want
think
me
that
to
is
work
so
hard so I can work
cool.
harder?
Exactly. To kind of
Yeah.
see like the origin story of,
Mhm.
your family and how,
Yeah.
they've been able to amass what they have to get, to
Oh
the
my
point of
God.
being in the US and,
Yes.
growing and buying you a culture. And then it sounds as if giving you the freedom to be confident in making these decisions for yourself and supporting you and things of that nature.
Oh man. So one of the things I'm so grateful for, I have the best support system. I mean, my mother is hands down, she's the biggest blessing. I don't know anyone like my mom. Just the level of wisdom, faith, kindness that she carries in her like everyday life. It's not like she's just putting on certain
Right.
situations. That's who she is at the core. And she's gone through so much. So through my mother, I get a lot of inspiration, but also a lot of support. So, like you said, the freedom to do whatever. My mom really let us explore, growing up. And I think that gave me confidence, right? Because you try things, and I know if I mess up or fail, I have my mom who's always
Right.
going to be there rooting for me. And I know a lot of people don't have that, so that's why I don't. And my grandmother as well, my sister, close friends. So my support system is A1. Like that's what really makes me feel not afraid to, even when I'm scared of something or doing something new. I know worst case scenario, I'll always have a roof over my head, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense. So I'm
Yeah.
okay to like take certain risks,
Yeah.
financially and also just with my actual life. So yeah.
Yeah, my dad says this thing about you can always come back home, right?
Yep. Yep. And that's a
Um,
good feeling to know that.
it is, it is. It's like I don't want to, but
Yeah, but
knowing that I
knowing that the option
can
is there.
is one of
Yes.
the most important things that's going to help, I would imagine, to help us get through whatever
Yes.
difficulties we encounter, whatever setbacks we may have. So just to hear you say that, I heard this term earlier. I was listening to a podcast by the school psychologist, a Black school psychologist, and the lady that he was interviewing was talking about this thing called a constellation of care. And
Mm,
the way I was just like, oh, that sounds like interesting. And so
yeah.
it
Tell
really
me more.
discusses, right. And I want to do more research and really figure out what my own looks like. But what you're sharing and what it really discusses is what are and who are the people, the resources, the connects that you have around you that helps to build you up, support you, provide that safety net, that helps to inoculate you against all the things that the world will throw, especially as a Black woman creator.
Oh man.
engaging in this male-dominated space, right? I would imagine if you could think about that, the constellation of care, you're in this center and you have all of these different elements of care around you. What would you say some of the, in addition to what you just shared, some of the more important ones are that you maybe have just realized?
Oh, well, definitely. I think like grounding myself in gratitude because it's so easy when you're going through hard times to look at all the bad, oh, I'm sick, or oh, I don't feel, or
Yeah,
oh, I'm not getting funding. But I'm like, look, focus on what you have. And I feel very connected to the ancestors. When I say I feel very connected, my ancestors are with me. So, like, my
mm,
grandma just transitioned, she is with me. You know what I mean? So, again, it's focusing on, like, yes, the physical person may not be here, but I am so connected to them that the physical presence does not change that connection, which is
yeah,
another reason why I can be abroad. Because, again, I may not physically be with my family, but I know we're connected and I know that support is there. So the physical presence doesn't change anything. So I would say
exactly.
that grounding myself in some gratitude, which is hard sometimes, and also just like knowing that I'm protected from outside of the physical people who are still here with me. I'm protected by my ancestors. Like I'm
Yeah.
very much so, and they have spoken to me in so many different ways and cared and covered me as well through a lot. So
Girl,
I
listen,
firmly believe that.
you
Yeah.
speaking truth to power. Listen, I'm wearing an ancestor
I know, that's what
tonight.
I'm saying.
Okay.
Listen, and you know, you'll get these ancestral nudges sometimes, and
Mhm.
you know, things won't make sense. But a lot of times, we're so we're in toxic environments, or we're not being still enough, and
Yes,
so we miss the message. You know,
yes,
and so I tell people like you got to learn how to be still sometimes, and it's a lot of distractions in the world. But if you really, really have something where you need clarity to make a decision on, you got to
yep,
be still. Get
yep.
yourself still. Yeah.
I think that is very important, poignant, and challenging
Very
as
challenging.
professional,
Mhm.
working Black women, creative
Mhm.
Black women in general,
Yeah.
that want a certain standard for themselves, that have been
Yeah.
called to a certain level of, what can I say? It's not notoriety, but it is responsible. I would say responsibility.
Possibility.
Really
Yes. Yes.
understand that in order to continue to engage in the work that you've been called to do, you're led to do, it is, part of your story, you have to learn how to engage in that rest and be still and know
Yeah.
that your identity is not centered in those particular, and as I say this to you, I'm still having to remind myself of all of these
Yeah.
things.
Oh, listen, it's a constant struggle. Like I'm sitting here sharing gems, but it's gems that I've learned from not following these things. So you brought up one of the most important words for us, and that I want Black women specifically to embrace: rest. We have been socialized, specifically Black American women, to always be productive and our
Yeah,
value to be attached to what value we are bringing to somebody or somebody else.
yeah,
And I want us to rest. Like post stop, no explanation about it or anything. I want us
right.
to rest. I want
Period.
us to embrace it unapologetically because the way that we are socialized to operate is not a sustainable way. And it
It's not.
does like, it takes away the richness of life because we're always working and then feeling guilty when we're not. And I had to uncondition myself for that. And that's how I ended up taking that gap year, which turned into 2 years. But I took that career break
Yeah.
because I watched my father pass away
Mm,
and I was thinking to myself, like, I'd be damned if I work myself to death right before retirement,
yes.
before I
I
get an
know this.
opportunity to benefit from the fruits of all my labor and work. So
Right.
his death was like a triggering point for me and a turning point. And not just, I come from a family of hard workers,
Yeah.
perfectionists, and we had to be, right? My ancestors, my mother, my dad, my grandma, they had to be. They really didn't have the choice.
Right.
But thankfully for the work that they've done, they've positioned my sister and I and future generations. We don't have to, when I say we don't have to, I mean, we have to work, obviously, but I'm saying like there are certain things that like we've been positioned for success and not have to work ourselves into the ground.
Right.
So embracing that rest, honoring our ancestors and all the sacrifice they made by resting too.
Exactly.
I'm just a huge advocate of us doing it and doing it unapologetically because we are socialized not to do these things.
I hear
Yeah.
you. And I think one of the things that resonates with me most is through the examples that we've been given, we know the value of hard work. But
Mhm.
it is the untethering ourselves from the need to, again, produce for others without giving ourselves that same level of grace and understanding in order to continue to do our very
exactly. You gotta rest to do the work. Nothing works like, and what they say, nothing in nature like works year long with no rest, you
right.
know? Like, I mean, we see that in nature, like things need a break.
I do. Like, here we go fall, here we go
Exactly.
winter. There's a hibernating season in order for you to regain your stores, regain your power, reclaim your time so that you can show up bright
Reclaiming
and
my
vibrant.
time.
Listen, Auntie Maxine, I got a pen of hers on the jacket over there.
Oh my gosh, so powerful.
For
That was so
sure.
powerful.
So I want to kind of circle back to something that you stated, that the example that you were provided to be able to be free, right? And to go do these things with your mom, teaching just be free, you can do all these things because you have a base. One of the things that I've noticed with talking to people is the fear of going abroad, taking a gap year, being a nomad, studying somewhere else because they're going to miss their family.
Yes.
Have you encountered that with people that you've spoken with?
Yes, it is a very, very valid concern. But this is what my advice to people. People who really love you would want you to live your fullest life, even if it is not in their best interest, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
And so you have to think about, are you living your life for everyone else's, are placing them at your priority? Obviously, you have kids, that's different, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a separate conversation when you have children. But as the child or as the daughter, the son, you know, if your family really and loved ones really, really, really love you, they will understand that sometimes what's in the best interest for you may not be in the best interest for them, because maybe selflessly they want you to physically be here with them. Or maybe you have a older parent that is sick that you need to take care of. I hear that all the time. And I'm like, very valid. And it may sound really selfish. And I know some people will hear this and be like, oh, she's cold hearted. My dad had his third stroke in 2012. I moved abroad in 2014. The fear of him transitioning while I was abroad it gave me so much anxiety. Anytime my phone rang midday when my family knew I was at work, I just assumed like, oh my gosh, my dad passed away and they're calling me to tell me. So I carried that fear of being away from family, of not being able to be there in case of an emergency with me most of that whole 2.5 years I was in London. And then when I came back, thankfully he did not transition while I was abroad, but he did transition while I was in the States. And guess what? I still wasn't able to get to him when it happened. My sister called me. She was like, I think we need to go down to Florida. My dad lived in Florida. Because the rehab center had called her to tell her he wasn't doing well. And literally, as I'm on the phone with Delta to book the ticket, because I immediately got on the phone with her to book our tickets, she called me back and she's like, you get what I mean? So even, I guess what I'm trying to say is, even being in the States, I was in Atlanta at the time. I wasn't that far away. It still wasn't close enough, if that makes any sense. So close, whether I had been abroad, so and I guess my point is, for people who that's holding them back, I understand, and it's very valid, and every situation is different. But like in our case, our dad was put in a nursing home and 24-hour rehab center because we could not, none of us were equipped to take care of the physical needs that he needed, right? So I know some people are against that. Like, I would never put my parents, in a nursing home or anything like that. And I respect that decision. But again, he was in that position for 6 years. So if I would have put my life on hold for 6 years, I would have never gone abroad. I would never started this company. Like, there's so many things that would have happened. And it sounds selfish, but the way my father lived his life very freely, very, he just lived life on his own terms. Like, that's something I learned from him. Like, he was like, he didn't give a F. He was like, look, I'm gonna do me. Y'all figure it out. But there was a level of like respect for it, right? Like at his memorial, people kept saying like, Tony definitely lived life on his own terms. And it was funny because he really did. So I got some of that from him.
I hear you. You know what? I so appreciate, which I already knew this conversation would be honest, right? And it just really touches me just to know that, to share living for yourself and working through whatever emotions and thoughts and feelings, however rational or irrational, come up is the key. Because at the end of the day, nobody else is accountable for our decisions but us. And it's like identifying, am I going to be living my life out of the fear of a thing? Or am I going to live the way that I believe is healthiest for me, best for me? And whenever said thing occurs, I will do my best to manage it then.
Yes. And you said something, the fear part. It's like, it's a quote that I love, and I think it's something like, regret will haunt you more than failure. The reason I love that quote is because I know for a fact I would have regretted if I didn't take these overseas opportunities that were just tugging at my heart for so long.
Exactly.
Versus, like I said, when I say failure could be so many things. Failure could be me going abroad and my dad passing away. Failure could have been me going abroad and hating it. Like, there's just so many things that failure could have been.
Right.
But the regret would have definitely haunted me more.
Exactly, because that's kind of like discounting yourself. Like, I could have actually done this thing, but I decided because of my decision, right? I decided not to do it. Now, in the event that, I mean, if failure is a springboard that you need to push you into the more aligned direction. Like, we can't get anywhere without failure, right? So
the real lesson is in the failures, not the successes.
Oh, totally, totally. You have to go through a whole lot of failure in order to get that one success. And that one success might not even be the pinnacle of success, but to know that, right, but to know that I effectively chose not to do the thing, as we were talking about ancestors earlier, that the ancestors have literally been putting fire up in my bones, urging me, giving me all these signs, laying it out for me, and I chose not to do it. I couldn't even imagine. I was talking to my mother about that actually, and she was just like, when you told me that, you know, you got a job in China, I already knew you was going. Because I was like, did you? She was like, girl, you've been talking about being international since you were, you know, little. It's been on you. So we know that things are for us the way that they just manifest with ease and they just keep popping up. And it's up to us to really be in tune with ourselves and know, like, okay, that didn't just happen. I don't believe in coincidence anyway. When things are in alignment, do we have enough presence of mind and self-awareness to really step out on faith and take that leap?
Listen, this when you move abroad, it is a faith walk. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what type of job you have. It is a faith walk, because navigating foreign land, even if they speak the same language as you, I mean, you're going to be tried and tested in some way, right? And there's a certain level of confidence that you build as you navigate successfully or unsuccessfully. You still build confidence, you know, but you learn what not to do, that you can't deny. So when I think about the overseas experience and what it has given me, it's regardless of, put it this way, regardless of how my journey in London ended, regardless of how my journey in Lisbon ends, or if it ends, because I plan on being here permanently. The journey,
willing that into existence.
I know, I put that into, throwing it out there. The way that it has fed my soul and expanded my universe, my way of thinking, my life, regardless of how it ends, it doesn't take any of that away of what I gained on the journey. And that's why I can be confident being here, because or taking these risks and these chances, even with Expat, regardless of how Expat turns out, what I've gained so far made it worth it. Seriously. So, I mean, just relationships with people, learning about these really rich stories, like, you know what I mean? It's, and I don't think that, like, there's a reason that I'm doing it, right? You know what I mean? Like you said, honoring what you've been called to do. And knowing that there's space for all of us to do these things and doing well, because we all offer something unique, right? Based on our experience. So it's been very rewarding. Like, the journey has been challenging at times, but it's been worth it. Like, just very worthwhile. Yeah.
I know. And I've loved to see, just in the short time that we've known each other, just to see like the community you've been able to build through the app, the people that I've been able to connect with through it, how we got connected. I just kind of see it as a conduit to like other people being able to live their best life and really being able to
Yes.
walk the path that's meant for them. And everybody is not meant to play that role.
Yeah,
So that's a lot of
absolutely.
responsibility.
Yeah, it is. And there's so many times when, because I know, like, we're focusing on the mental health side of, things as well.
Right.
There's a level of fortitude that you need to be able to keep going.
Yeah.
But when I think about the support from the community, again, I've been blessed. The expat community, phenomenal. Like, in ways that I can't explain how fortunate I am to be able to even like be a part of a community that's so supportive and just like cheerleaders. I love the way that we celebrate each other, because that is literally like what this was like. I would like celebrate us taking these risks, us,
Right.
moving abroad, and not just moving abroad, but we're thriving abroad.
Yes.
Celebrate us breaking down a lot of barriers and just biases that we've been socialized to believe about how we need to live our life, and
Right.
what happiness means and things like that. And success looks like, it's very rewarding to just see it, like live, right? Like, it's like
Yeah.
all this is happening right now. And I'm just really grateful that I'm here to witness it. So,
Yeah. It's kind of like being an intentional act of untethering yourself to
mhm.
from generational trauma, expected
Mhm.
ways of being, and figuring out your own path and walking that with fidelity. Um, it's scary, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's like it's something that you get to own wholeheartedly, like that nobody
Uh-huh.
else can do for
Mhm.
you. And there's so
Mhm.
many other people that are like taking this same path and walking this same type of road that we
Yeah.
get to share these experiences with. Because we know that what we're doing is going to reverberate. It's exponential.
Oh, listen, the impact is not just like generational, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
my story is a testament to that. Like, I can't imagine what my life would look so different if my mom and my grandmother didn't have the courage to go abroad, right? And as immigrants, and technically I'm an immigrant also, because I'm coming here permanently to Portugal. So,
Right.
my there, like, it's knowing that you have, like, it makes it tangible, right? And that's why it's exponential. Like, the impact is so big, because when you see, it's not just me, it's my kids and well, I don't have kids yet, I'm saying if I have kids. It's the generational impact of it, because the trajectory of my life obviously changed based on my mother. She came over to America when she was pregnant with me, right? I could have been born in Jamaica. Like, could have been so
Yeah.
different. So, yeah.
That's interesting. So like the through line is a bunch of fearless people
Oh
making,
man,
you
my
know,
bloodline game is so strong. Listen, I do not, I'm telling you, I'm like the strength in my bones, in my blood. Like, just like how they say trauma can get passed down, I said so can strength and
yes.
perseverance. And I own that. I'm like, I own it. I come from a strong. It was a guy, he's famous and he's an actor. He said, I wasn't built by no weak people. And I'm like, oh, I'm still in that.
Speaking.
Johnny Bodega, I think, is that his name? Johnny
Who is
Bodega.
it?
Johnny Bodega, is that his name?
Is he
He
British?
British, yes.
The Star
He
Wars
played,
guy.
yeah. No, no, it's not.
Boyega. Boyega.
Boy, yeah, I'm ruining this guy's name, but either way, he's a
I
British
think
actor. And when he said that, it resonated with me so well, because I was like, the strength in his voice when he said, I wasn't built by no weak people. Like, because he was getting attacked for some statement that he made,
probably about
about,
Black women. I think it was the one where he was loving,
yeah, he
Black
was
women
like
for
talking about Black
conviction.
women. Yeah, yeah, in a positive way, not in a negative way.
Of course,
And yeah, and people were like attacking his character, and he's like, listen.
all women matter.
Look, he shut it down real quick. So when I heard that, the reason that it resonated with me is because I don't know if you guys have heard that quote or read that. It's like a little spiel about, like, in order for you to be here today, like, so many generations of people had to survive quite a lot. And when
Mm,
we think about, as Black people, yes, what the people before us have gone through and what they have survived in order for us to be here, it's really empowering. It's
yes.
really empowering. And so I think about these things, and that gives me strength. Even when I'm dealing with stuff, stuff even happening this week, I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm like, Sharolyn, you have it in you to get through this. Do not get discouraged, and do not feed into the BS system. You know
Yeah.
what you've been called to do it. That's it. Like, don't get distracted, because distraction is one of the, I wish I could remember which activist said it, but they was like, one of the primary goals of racism is to
Oh
distract.
yeah, distract you from your goal.
Exactly. So, because you spend all your time trying to prove that racism, exists, prove that you've been, you know,
Defending.
that's the right word. Yeah, yeah. So it's like it's one of those things where when I think about like how I can better serve my community or what I need to do, I'm like, don't get distracted. You stay focused. Seriously, stay focused.
Yeah. So, we talked about this before, like the power of affirmations. I really hope
Mhm.
that you've written down or will write down what you
Oh,
literally
the one about
just
grace?
said,
Yeah.
because in those moments where it seems like nothing's working or we're being defeated or things
Hmm.
are just heavy, those
Yeah.
those are the distractions. We have to have, be more mindful and aware and
Yeah.
have that mental fortitude to know that this will pass, but
It
it's
will.
tapping into what I'm made of.
Exactly.
It'll push me. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
literally wearing it
I
today
know.
to help push us through like these moments that we're all going to experience.
Yeah.
Nobody is
Part of the
exempt
journey.
from it.
Yeah. Part of the journey.
It's part of the
Yeah.
journey. And I want to kind of like shift to, I know we kind of had like a pre-conversation because, we do that.
I
Um,
know.
when you think about your time abroad, I'm
Mhm.
wondering, and there may be many, can you
Mhm.
think of a defining moment thus far of the time that you've chosen to live abroad?
Oh man. The most defining moment. Oh, it's a lot. Actually, I'll give you a really recent one.
Okay.
I remember, so I have a really good support system out here of creatives and ladies who I just really highly respect. And it was midweek. We were literally just, I think we had just went gone some to eat or something, just enjoying ourselves. And we both just were like, this is our life. Like,
Mm,
we think about how different, 'cause we had just came back from a wine tour. And mind you, this is just like our life is just so different. You get what I mean? I was like, yo,
yes,
a year ago, both of us, we were like, a year ago, our lives were so different. I would have been at work, at a cubicle, rushing to a meeting. You know what I'm trying to say?
yep,
And when I say it, it's a defining moment because sometimes you're so busy trying to accomplish your goals and chase your dreams that you don't have those moments of being present to
yeah,
acknowledge like I am like acknowledge the moment of your, I don't even want to say success is the right word, but like this is exactly what I asked for and I got it right now. Like, like I'm and
alignment.
to enjoy it. And so I just remember that conversation so vividly because it always brings me back to the possibilities a year from now are endless.
Mhm.
The possibilities a year from now are endless. And I try to remind myself, sometimes I deal with toxic people or situations, and I'm like, a year from now, I'll be living my best life, and this
Exactly.
person will still be doing the things that they're doing.
Exactly.
So, and that allows me to move on instead of trying to get revenge when people do hurtful things,
Yeah,
right?
which they
Or
will
things
do.
to tear down your business or to ruin your reputation. I'm like, a year from now, this person will be doing the same exact thing, and I will be living my best life. Let them have it.
Exactly.
Keep it moving. So when I have though that moment of just reflection, it was just nice because it made me feel like I'm finally in a position when I can be present and not be traveling. The reason I used to love travel so much is because it was one of the rare moments where I was present. I haven't been diagnosed with anxiety technically, but I think I have anxiety, right? And so a lot of times I'm always worrying about what I need to be doing or stressing about some maybe stuff I did in the past. But when I was traveling, I could be present. And so
Mhm.
being able to not be traveling, to be home in Portugal, right? Because I call Portugal home, and
Right.
to still be present, I was like, this is really beautiful because I no longer have to escape my everyday life to have these moments, if that makes any sense.
Exactly. There was
Yeah.
this quote or a few quotes. One of them is, I want to build a life that I don't want to run from, right?
Yes.
That
Don't
I
need
can be
vacation from.
fully immersed in and happy
Mhm.
about and able to work
Yeah.
through whatever does pop up. And then that
Yes.
brings me to another thought. It's you are, I am, all of us are literally living the thing that we manifested a while ago. Like we're in the middle
We're
of
in it right now, like being abroad. We're in
exactly,
it.
exactly. And it's weird. I feel like that sometimes walking down walking down the street in Beijing and I look around, I'm like, I
I'm
really do
here.
live in this other
I
country that I
really live abroad.
never thought I'd be in.
It's so wild. It is so wild, and it makes me so like I feel very, very blessed on the
Yes.
regular. Very fortunate to have this experience, and I love what you're doing with your platform because you're allowing other people to tap into, like you said, see people's real lived experiences, right? And whether you get inspiration or maybe some courage from it, because sometimes people just need the courage.
Yep.
Um, it matters. These platforms matter. Grounding it in the mental space is so unique, right? And so it's like find out how you as an individual can at least share your gift with the world. So I'm grateful for you because this is as soon as you start talking about the mental health aspect of it, I was like, that's such an important conversation because people always
Mm.
focus on the money. How
Yeah, they
much money
do.
do I get abroad? How much money do you move abroad? What type of job can I get abroad? And I'm like, all the money in the world, all the money in the world is not going to protect you if that mind is not right.
Girl, because that
So,
mind not being right, you're not gonna get abroad, first of all. uh,
right, actually, right. You won't even make it abroad if the mind is too
no,
effed up.
you'll get in your own way
Mm-hmm.
and you'll
He just
talk
said
yourself
that.
out of a really good thing. You will
Mm-hmm.
overanalyze, analysis paralysis to where
Oh my gosh.
the thing happens that we sometimes feel like we don't deserve all the goodness that can flow to us.
Yes.
So it's learning how do we, take care of our mental health? How do we be more mindful? How do we be more self-compassionate in a way
Yes.
that allows us to be fearless, take those risks, you know,
Yes.
reach out to our support system, our constellation of care, because there's so much trauma
Yes.
that a lot of us have, actually everybody has
Mm-hmm.
experienced, that we
Yes.
inoculate ourselves against the support that is available to us,
Listen,
even living abroad.
you shared a whole word, word right there. And I hope like if people listening, like just understand, do not put limits on your life.
Mm,
Understand that you deserve good things. Understand that you are worthy of these amazing things to happen. It is not something that is preserved for others. No, you
right.
own that. Please, because I don't put any limits on myself. I was talking to my niece last year and she said made some comment about something. And I was like, I could be on the cover of Forbes next year, Sasha. And she was like, no, you can't, Auntie. And so now I gotta be on the cover of Forbes because my niece doesn't believe that it's possible. And I want to show her that it is. I
Yeah,
really, really do. So like I really don't put any limits on myself in regards to where I see my life going.
yeah,
And I would love for other people to like own that
yeah,
as well. And it's not being cocky or whatever. It's really just knowing that in this world and in this life, anything can happen.
exactly,
Literally.
exactly.
If you read the stories of people who have made it, you look where Oprah started. Look where other people, even Obama, you know what I mean? Like there's so many people.
Yep.
If you were to read their story, I'm
Audacity of hope.
positive that when they were first born, no one would have imagined how they would have contributed and impacted the world.
Right.
So I use these stories as inspiration because I'm like anything is possible. And when
Anything.
I'm on the cover of Forbes, I can't wait to send it to my niece.
Listen,
Yes,
listen. My whole
I
thing
want you
is
to know.
what you're saying, what like an underlying thing of what, I want to add to what you're saying is, having that hope, believing in yourself.
Mhm.
A lot of us, we have to be raised to believe that these
Mhm.
things are possible. And
Yes.
I know that we talked about this in a previous conversation, is when you are raised on survival, I'm trying to make it to the next, to the
Mhm.
next paycheck. Where am I going to get
Mhm.
my food, safety, things of that
Mhm.
nature? The audacity of hoping and believing and knowing and being injected with all this hope and faith and freedom and possibility. That is not like what's on the mind. So being
Yes.
raised, as you shared, by a mom that has given you the space to be, you know,
Yes.
filled you up with the notion that you can go and do, you are always
Anything.
connected. That is
Yes.
what allows you, or part of what allows you, I
Oh no, it's trust me that the way that it, like the foundation, right?
Yes.
It comes from the support of my mother, right? And my grandmother. And you, man, you touched on so much just now. So one of the things that I think our community suffers from is access to like leisure time and leisure thought.
Yep.
The audacity of me to be able to even think about living abroad, the audacity of me to even be able to be free, to walk away from what people would call a good paying job. Again, I was afforded with, because of the sacrifice of my mother, my grandmother, and all the people before me, I was afforded with the opportunity to have leisure time to even dream.
Yeah.
You don't even
Yeah.
realize how much of a blessing that is, right? And that's why you need to honor your ancestors before you by honoring that, right?
Yeah.
Or creating that opportunity for the next generation. Because I'm telling you, we take it for granted. I was working at a nonprofit called Raising Expectations in Atlanta. And one of the girls, I asked her, she was going off to college. She was obviously first, first in her family to go to college. And
Right.
various things that I had taken for granted, such as filling out the application form, applying for FAFSA, for student aid and all these things. It was very foreign and scary for her because no one in her family had done it before. And so I
Right.
was like, "Oh, what's your major?" She's like, "I don't know. I just checked the box." I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Your classes are going to be dictated by that." And I'm like going into like panic mode for her. And she was like, "Listen," she was like, "I don't even know where I'm going to sleep tonight. I don't have time to think about a
Oh
major."
Lord.
And in that moment, I was like, damn, it hit me so
Yeah.
hard. The
Yeah.
fact that I had the luxury of like leisure time to even think and explore what major I wanted to study. And that, I mean, it's crazy, like so much you take for granted, right? And so all I think about is like what you just said, like we can't take, like we have to acknowledge the fact that like not everyone has the luxury of even the mental space or the actual time because they're in survival mode
Right.
to dream, to dream bigger,
Yeah.
right? And if you're in that position, I mean, I pull on my mother often, I talk about her so much. My mother would have been one of those people. You got to figure it out and you got to make a way
Yeah.
because there will always, always be a reason not to do something. You get what I mean? And if you're listening to this, I mean, you have access to technology and you have some type of free time. So I encourage you, right, to take advantage of what you do have and focus on that because I can't tell you how many stories of people who inbox me. Well, I have kids, or will I? And I'm like, that's why these conversations are important. I can pull up 10 expat chats, more than 10 actually, of people who moved abroad with kids, some
Oh yeah.
single parents, some with husbands, whatever, all of different, economic backgrounds,
Yep.
ages. So it's possible. People are like, "Oh, I have a sick parent." I'm like, "I moved abroad with a sick parent." Like, not with them, but with having a sick parent,
Right.
right? You got to make some hard decisions. So I tell people like, do not focus on what you can't do. Focus on what you can. And
Yeah.
also don't get discouraged because you're looking at someone's day, 3,000 and you're on day one. That's okay. It took me time to save up my money to move abroad. I don't anyone to
Yep.
think these are overnight decisions. And you got to trust the process. I had to
Yeah.
make some sacrifices. I had to get a used car. I had to live in a studio while I was saving money so that I could move abroad because I knew I was going to quit my job and wouldn't have that source of income. So like, don't let people fool you when you're just looking at the final version of stuff, and where the destination. People are making sacrifices to do this, and you will have to do the work. Yeah.
Exactly. That touched on so much, like the sacrifice of living the sacrifices that you have to make to live the life that you want to
Mm-hmm.
live, that doesn't come overnight, that somebody else can't,
Yeah.
necessarily finance, because then it won't be yours, right?
Yeah.
There is so
Yeah.
much that you really have priorities. What do you
Yes.
want? Like the thing that
Yes.
you said that I heard you say was, and in mental health terms, it is not having such a mindset of lack, not
Yeah.
being heavily focused on what the absence of something, but being
Mm-hmm.
in alignment with the presence of something. What is your best hope? What is your preferred future? What are you moving toward? What are you
Yes.
working for?
Yes.
And meditating on that, working toward that, setting intentions for that, that is a constant daily process
Oh,
that
it's a daily practice.
it is work. That's work.
It's work because guess what? Like right now, I can share people with right now. Like right now, the app isn't funded. Right now, I'm a one person team. Right now, I am like trying to figure out personal things in my life. Right. like I'm being single, not having children. But I'm not going to focus on all of that. I'm like,
Yeah.
what can I do to position myself for where I want to be? You know? So I'm applying for grants, right? I'm working on partnerships so that can help fund the app, right? I'm looking at affiliate partnerships and arrangements so that we can bring in some revenue. You know,
Right.
like you know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to make myself available for dating. You get what I'm trying to say? Like you
Yeah.
gotta focus on like what can you do, right? I can sit there and mope and I've applied to over 20 grants. And I'm being transparent and sharing this because I want people to know when I do get that grant, when I finally get one of them, you know,
Hard
no
work.
one can say I didn't work for it, right?
Mm.
And I had to keep working, right? And I'm like, I created a whole app and no one was giving me any money. No one cares. Listen, you keep going. So you
Exactly.
really gotta keep going. It is a very humbling journey. I will
Yeah.
say that. So when
Yeah.
people see a news feature or oh, well, she was already making money and she was doing this, I'm like, I worked very hard for all those things. Very,
Exactly.
very, right? I did the work and I'm gonna keep doing the work, right? Because guess what? I went to a business retreat last month. They gave me a reality check because I was like, I've done all this. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I can't get any grants or whatever. And they're like, so what? We don't care if you build an app, build more. Like we don't care if you you get what
Good
I
for
mean?
you. Now keep going.
They were like, it sounds like you're expecting all the hard work you did in corporate world to carry over into entrepreneurship. And in
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, we don't give a fuck what you did at Deloitte. We don't care what you did before. You need to honor the journey and the process. Don't expect to get gifts and blessings for the work that you have not done yet. You've done
Mm.
some work, but don't let that negate the fact that there's still more work to be done. And these
Exactly.
are coming from very strong women who've been in the game for over a decade. And
Yeah.
here I am in year 2, like, you know, in my little pity party about, you know, not
Right.
getting grants. And they're like, okay, you applied to 20, apply to 20 more. Have you tried other routes? Like, you know, of seeking funding, right? Have you revisited what your monetization strategy is going to be? So I'm being transparent and sharing this because I think sometimes people see what's like projected out, you know, whether it's on the headlines or things like that. And I'm like, there's so much that happens behind the scenes. There's
Girl.
so much that people don't see that
Yeah.
goes into the positive things that are put out there, right?
Exactly.
So I'm grateful for this space and this opportunity to even share any insights because I want people to know that don't get discouraged because of the highlight reels that you see on people's uh, Instagram feeds of oh my
Right.
gosh, she was in Cabo and I was working.
Listen, it's called workcation, be smart,
Exactly. Work
so that you
smarter, not
can
harder. Okay.
itemize.
Surround yourself with the dreamers and the doers.
Yes.
If you're surrounded by all dreamers, good luck. Surround yourself with some doers, okay?
Listen, girl,
Of the
that
world.
takes me to this. Oh God, who was I talking to? It might have been a client, I'm not sure, or just
Mhm.
another friend. And the
Mhm.
conversation was, you know, about I want these things to happen. That's great. I've learned all this information. That's amazing. Knowledge is power, but the application of the knowledge leads to
Yes,
change. Like
yes,
magical thinking does
gotta
not
do
work in this mug. It has to, you got to put
it.
some, you know, sweat equity, some
Mhm.
tears, you know, some
Yeah,
late nights, some phone
yeah.
conversations, some humility.
Oh man, listen, the humble juice that I have been drinking on this journey. Oh my, I came with this. I was like, oh, I built an app. They're gonna be throwing money at me.
Girl.
Oh, I got a reality check and got humble so quickly. I
Yeah,
got a reality check and got humble. And so but I'm thankful for it, right? I needed that. I
yeah,
needed that humble juice. And it's character building, but also it makes the journey interesting, right?
it does. Because I mean, how fun would it be
Mhm.
for, or even how meaningful would it be for
Mhm.
everything just to
Audio
go
one.
smoothly? I don't know anything
Mhm.
in my life that ever has, honestly.
I can't think
That
of Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm trying to like, yeah, I mean, to be honest, like, yeah, even like the process of moving abroad and some of the hiccups that have happened along the way,
yeah,
like, it's a funny story. Like, you know, it's a funny journey. I can laugh now.
exactly.
Um, and it's like I said, it's character building, man. I know that some of the challenges I'm experiencing now is only preparing me for the bigger things that I need to do, and I need
Oh,
to
for
have
sure.
not just thick skin, but I need to also have like a level of perseverance and fortitude that's going to allow me to, you know, pretty much live in my gift and, you know, share it with the world the way that I need to. So that's why I'm
Exactly.
like do not get discouraged. Like yesterday, I got some ridiculous news about something, and I was like, don't get discouraged. This is happening for a reason, and trying to ground myself in it will make sense one day. It don't have to make sense right now.
Right.
And you may have to put some more money towards something, but that's okay, right? That is okay. It's a part of the process and you will learn from it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you shared that, because while it's key for us to be able to talk about the highlights and how things work, and the origin stories, the genesis of these things that we encounter, I need people to understand that this is also engaging in these spaces, being an expat, being an entrepreneur, all of the subtitles that we have is going to impact your mental health. And I'm curious to know, how have you noticed your mental health being impacted with all the things that you've encountered since moving abroad, starting to move abroad, and things of that nature?
Oh man, the perseverance is something that I think mentally, like I'm building, and I'm so much stronger. So overall, I am grateful because I think I have a strong mind. I say it a lot. Like I do a gratitude thing in the morning, or if I'm in the shower, and I'm like, I'm grateful for my body because I've had surgery and it was healing well. I'm like, sometimes I say I'm grateful. A lot of times I'm grateful for my mom. That's like normally like probably 70% of the time. But I'll say like I'm grateful for a strong mind.
Yeah.
And the reason that I say that is because there are things that happen. I mean, this week alone was heavy, right? Or this past week or whatever. And like just having like I knew I needed to talk to my therapist, so I set up an appointment.
Yeah.
I keep myself grounded through not just my support system, but actual professionals, right? Because your family loves you and everything, and your friends and your close ones, loved ones, but they aren't like technically equipped sometimes to handle some of the stuff that you need support with.
Right.
So that's why I do encourage people to have a therapist. My therapist is phenomenal, a Black woman as well. And yeah, like she's phenomenal. I mean, I started going to her after my dad passed as a grief counseling for therapy for grief counseling. And then like just realizing how powerful her methods were. I was like, you know what? I am going to keep her. Because she teaches you natural methods of grounding yourself, even breathing techniques, right? Giving your brain oxygen. It may seem so simple, but you really need to understand the connection of your physical to your mental. And sometimes, because we're just not taking care of our physical bodies, it gives us like brain fog and some other things. So I love that instead of her trying to like, oh, you should go get, tested for anxiety or ADHD and go get on medicine. It's like, what natural things can we do? What breathing techniques can you implement? What stretching techniques can you implement? What meditation, which I struggle. I don't know how to meditate. I've been trying for years. But yeah, that's what I say, yeah. And so, you know what I mean? Just having a therapist has been helpful. And I honor my emotions. Like most people don't know this about me, but I'm really sensitive and I'm an empath, like the 10th power. So a lot of times, I can't help it. But I do, I set a lot of boundaries because I have to protect my energy, right? And even if my energy is not good, like sometimes like I don't go out because I don't want to, you know what I mean, bring my negative energy around people.
Throw that up on
but I honor, I honor. When I feel disappointed, I honor it. When I feel upset or sad, I cry. Like I let it out. I cry when I'm frustrated, right? I know some people see that as weakness, but I don't care if other people think that's a weakness sign. I'm going to feel the emotion. I'm human, and I let it out. I get my little tears out, whatever, and then I keep it moving.
Exactly.
Right? Because I honor the fact that I'm a human being who feels things. And so I only share that because I've been in situations where people, I'm just like toughen up, when they see you crying or something like that. And I'm like, no, this is how I feel right now, so I'm gonna cry.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna get off
Don't tell me how to feel. That's an instant argument.
And I know that in some environments, like, you really, it can limit you from opportunities. People don't think you're strong enough. I'm like, actually, crying in front of people is stronger than that. You know what I mean? But our society hasn't conditioned us to believe that. So emotionally, how I felt abroad has been definitely stronger. If I had to use one word, definitely stronger. And I just love the fact that I have more free time mentally for like creativity. So my creativity has flourished over here because like I feel safe. My mind is not occupied with like toxic things. Like, oh my gosh, what if, like people shooting me or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a whole gun issue in violence in the US, or Racially here, there's racism everywhere, but here it's not like lethal like it is in the States. Well, it hasn't been for me at least. I'm speaking as a Black American. I know it's not the same for everybody who's Black. And then when I think about like, I not only am safe, but I have access to really good things. I have access to really good food, good health care. And the people here on the ground, I've been able to build some really solid relationships. And so I feel supported as well, like if I needed help or anything. So with all those things create this environment where, because I don't have to be preoccupied with like protecting myself or feeling scared or dealing with like microaggressions or just basic aggressions and racism. Again, it's that leisure thought time, like, that we talked about, like, having time to be creative and think about, oh, I wonder, I have a really big project coming up for Expat. I actually have time to think about it and work on it. Yeah.
Exactly. Like engaging more in healing thinking.
Healing.
Fun thinking. It's not all right. It's not all survival and rebuttal and
you are hitting the nail on the head.
Listen, because we are literally living the same experience. Just in
it's like yes, I can take myself out of survival mode here.
Yes.
I'm so glad you've been saying that, because yes, that is, if I had to describe what it's been like, I'm not in the US, I was in survival mode. Yes. I was absolutely.
Yeah. It's so interesting that when I was connected to you and the other ladies, and I was told y'all in Portugal, I was like, okay, is this another one of those things like helping me to prepare for the future? Because I have always wanted to live, go, be in Portugal. So I feel like there's a little bit of kismet that's like happening.
If you talk to me, you're gonna be moving to Portugal. I tell you, I'm like, listen, because our community, so Portugal's, the community out here surprised me the most. I came out here not thinking there were going to be, too many, Black expats, nomads, whatever. Came out here and it was just like, this is one of the dopest scenes. Like, not like partying and all that stuff. I'm just talking about just real connections, the type of people that I'm meeting, the creatives. It's so like, it's like affirming, like that I belong here. The people that I'm meeting, it just continues to affirm that I am in the right place and that I belong here. So first of all, you already here. You're already here. Like, listen, Portugal is a really beautiful place, and not to overly hype it. I know everyone's experience is different. We've had a couple of people express in some of the expat groups, like the way people talk about Portugal and they had a totally different experience. I'm like, no, that's very valid as well. But my experience has been phenomenal. And the women here specifically, it's a lot of Black women moving here, and you have a lot of support, of support.
That takes me directly into the next question that I have. Like, one of our your friend, a budding friend of mine, Ty, she was on the show earlier in the season. Her show is going to air in a few weeks. And one of the things that came out of it was the very thing that you're saying. She was like, the community that I've been able to establish here has been next to none. So I want to know, like, from your perspective, expounding on what you've already offered with the concept of community and connection, chosen family, especially. What does that look like for you in Portugal?
Oh, well, so it started with like, these online communities, right? And so I'm in a ton of like expat communities and all of this. But one thing that I noticed, and this is how Expat, got started, there was this notion that like we didn't feel safe in the main expat groups. And so we started creating Black in Portugal, people of color in Portugal, or Blacksit, Tribe, Blacksit Global. I started seeing all these groups pop up, even though some already existed, right? And so all I kept thinking was, we just need to find each other, right? Like, these communities exist, but people don't know that they exist. And so that's how I created the app as a directory. That's like just level one of what the app will be. We obviously have, once I get some more funding, once I get some funding, exactly. I can do some enhancements, because there's so much I want to do with the app. But what community looks like for me is, first, it was the online communities. Right. And in places where those online communities didn't exist, I was doing research online, YouTube and Instagram, to figure out, like, can I find any Black women, here who are about my age? And came across one of my good friends page, Cinnamon, her page, Driven Spice on YouTube, and reached out to her. And like immediately, like she was just so open and connected me with Margot, who's a really another great friend. And Margot connected me to Huete. And so it was like this exponential network. I mean, this network growing exponentially of support of Black women. And it literally starts with you taking that, first leap to like dropping somebody's DMs pretty much to make the connection. And mind you, I've reached out to different people. Not everyone, responded, but the ones who did, I'm grateful for that, because that is how the community was built, like person by person. And, people get to know you and they're like, oh, they would vibe. This person would vibe,
Yeah,
And the way I met Ty, we had an event. We did a Juneteenth Global Freedom Hike as a part of Expat. It's our only like in-person event we've done, because of COVID, had to keep something outdoors, do something outdoors. And I met Ty's mother first, and then I met Ty and immediately connected. I was like, Ty gets it. And she's bringing, she has a beautiful family. She's a beautiful person. And she just gets it. Like, so there was just like this automatic connect. So the way that community has been built for me has really been through, one, like you got to leave your house, right? You got to go meet people, go to events, so I know people think I am an extrovert. I am not. I am an introvert, but I am an extrovert around people that I feel extremely comfortable around.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's why it's like, I can sit here and just, chop it up with you so organically and easily, because I feel really safe and comfortable. And so meeting like Ty and Diara, it's just so many beautiful ladies out here. And when I say beautiful, beautiful in spirit, and like just beautiful people, like as a whole. Like I love the way that we support each other. We have all these offline group chats, support. And I have to give a shout out to Heather, who's out here, because Heather Proctor, she's created a really beautiful Lisbon meetup group, like group chat. And that's like the support in that group is amazing. It's amazing. So there's so many different people building community out here and who are cultivating community in different ways. Maybe it's a Facebook group, maybe it's a group chat, maybe it's your IG page. But I encourage people to like leverage social media to your advantage to find people, right? And everyone can't be everything to everybody. So if someone doesn't respond, please don't take it personal.
Exactly.
I can't even tell you how many times someone has reached out and I just don't have the manpower, like, because I'm running Xpat and I have personal things going on and I can't meet up. And unfortunately, sometimes people like attack us, me and Margot or Huete or Sin, like, or Julie, who's out here as well. It's like, you guys are frauds. You're not trying to help people. And I'm like, we just don't have free time right now because we have a life. And so it gets a bit discouraging when that happens, because I think people do see the social media stuff and they like, they want to plug in. And I'm like, we want you to plug in, but it may not always be via us, if that makes any sense. Right. Like we'll normally tell you which Facebook groups and communities to join, because unfortunately, like we have lives. Well, fortunately, we have lives as well. So I'm only sharing that because I think some people, it's off-putting when you can't meet up with them. Right. But it's like we can't be available for everybody because we have to be tending to our own lives as well.
Exactly. And that's where boundaries come in. And we don't always know what people's, not that we go into it thinking that folks have nefarious, intentions or things, but it is so disheartening sometimes when people don't know the behind the scenes, and then there are these assumptions that are made, and then there's harmful behavior that's done. And it's just like, see, what you're doing is you are trying to impede the progress that we're trying to make for you. Exactly. Right? Get out your own way.
Yeah, like we're doing, and there's so much free information that we do share and put out there. And so when people like get upset, like, well, it would be nice if you could have made up, but I guess you guys are celebrities now. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm actually doing the work so that when you do get here, you have some community. It's kind of mind-boggling. So that's something that I really have wanted to address publicly on like IG or something, but I feel like it's no nice way to say it without seeming rude or like an a-hole. And so it's like, I'm like, please be gracious with us, because we are genuinely we also have like one this past weekend with one of the people, I'm like, I just lost my grandma. Like, I don't want to go to an event on Saturday. You get what I mean? Sunday I felt better and went out, but that's my own like decision, right? That's my own business. So it's like when people attack you for not being available, I'm like, my free time does not mean it's available to you at all.
Please say that again.
You know what I mean? my free
Girl,
time does not necessarily mean that I'm free to be available to you. Yeah, like
exactly. My free
yeah,
time is just that mine, and the way that I choose to
mine.
occupy it is my business. And I think
Yes,
that learning to be assertive in the way that assertive and empathetic, right? In the way that
yes,
we have these
yes.
very difficult conversations, people
Mm-hmm.
have to like get outside of themselves and understand that one, the number one priority is my first and foremost, my well-being, so that I
Yes,
can continue to do the work,
the
right?
work.
I don't want to be a hypocrite and put
Yes,
everybody else's needs first, and then I'm depleted and can't engage in the space
exactly.
with the type of fidelity and time and mental acuity that I need to do the work consistently.
Consistently and keep going, right?
Yeah, that is a
It's
lot.
really important. So it's like I want to stress community, but I don't want people to attach the success of their journey abroad to the community, if that makes any sense.
Makes complete sense. It makes
Okay, yeah,
complete sense. That's where
yeah,
I try to tell people that the success that you've acquired is not, it's not derived externally. It's an
yeah.
internal thing.
Internal thing.
Like
Oh,
when
100%.
it comes to the constellation of care,
Yes.
the Expat app, the communities that you're able to create, all of that is necessary. But none of
Mhm.
that is able to happen if you aren't good.
Yeah, and exactly, and that's what I felt. I was like with one of the more recent people who kind of like attacked all of us in the messages. I'm like, there's some self work I think you need to do before you come out here.
Right.
There's
Because it's
some self
gonna,
work that I hope that that person does because, expecting other people to be accountable or available or just assuming to have access to people is kind of crazy because we're still strangers at the
and
end of the
it's
day.
very harmful. It's not,
Yeah,
it's
so
harmful to the community
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
harmful to them because people have to know, which I'm sure every expat, wherever they are, can attest to, you will be challenged, you will
hmm,
have very good days, but
yeah,
while you are adjusting to this new normal, there is going to
yeah.
be a
I'm
lot
going
of
to.
stuff that you have to look within yourself. You got to look yourself in the mirror. You have
Yeah,
to really do that internal work to be able to thrive out here. Like you
yeah.
have to.
It's so much that goes into building the life that you really, really want out here.
Yeah.
And a lot of that for me has been just like boundary setting because of the fact that there's a lot of distractions. Um, and it's really easy to come out here and get so caught up in the fun stuff that you don't do the work that you need to be doing to keep yourself out
Exactly.
here, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, I encourage people to reach out. I encourage people to leverage these platforms, but don't take it personal if every person is not available. It's
Exactly.
nothing personal. We have lives.
Exactly. So I kind
Yeah.
of want to shift. I still want to kind of be in the vein of mental health. There have
Mhm.
been a slew of, or I would just say a few high profile deaths,
Mhm.
suicides that have occurred in the US.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering where you are in Portugal. I know that there's been some work done here where I am in Beijing.
Mhm.
Community wise or even individually, what do you notice are ways that either yourself or people that you know are affected mental health wise, community wise, holistically when things like this do happen? Like, what are some things that you're
Mhm.
noticing while you're living where you are?
I think it's like a reality check for a lot of us in our community when we hear these things. I know for me, I was like, it it just it had a big impact on me personally, honestly. Like even because I was quite triggered because over the holidays we had a suicide attempt, someone close to me. And so
Okay.
that and then this happening like right after,
Yeah.
it was just a reminder for me like you never know what people are going through. You never
Yep.
know what people are going through. And I think that reminder to like it was a reminder for the community to like be kind for one, but also take care of yourself, have honest conversations with yourself when you need help.
Yeah.
Do not feel like you need to be all things to everybody
Yeah.
and putting that pressure on yourself. And again, I mean, like I said, I scheduled some time with my therapist because it was that and other things happening. And I was like, let me check in with myself. I think I'm okay, but am I? You
Yeah.
know, and having access to those resources, right? So I think for it started the discussion for people who maybe weren't seeing a therapist to even start thinking, because people started sharing resources, right? And I know we had our call set up and everything before these things that both happened, but it was like the timing was like so on par with like, oh my gosh, thank God we had this already set up, because for our community, I think it's needed to open up the discussion and let's talk about mental health. And when I say let's talk about it, let's talk about what we didn't think it looked like. You get what I mean? Anyone could have gone on either Ian's or person, I'm saying her name wrong, Chesley's page, or looked at their outward appearance on social media and would have never known what they were dealing with. And I think it was a wake-up call for our community to like, don't judge a book by its cover. Like, really,
At all.
no, you never know what people are going through. And
go ahead. Sorry.
I'm not saying like the conversation it opened up dialogue.
Right. And I think so I always, this phrase that I've coined is stigma dies when we share, right? The power of a stigma, it is reduced when we share our stories. And so to, hear kind of some of the stuff that's come out recently about what Chesley have been experiencing, and probably Ian as well, is that high functioning depression, the high functioning anxiety. I know as an individual, so moment of disclosure, I'm a licensed professional. I'm a licensed mental health professional, and I have a diagnosis of generalized anxiety, which is something that I work through every day. My therapist, Renelda Robeson, is amazing, and has helped me get through some really low moments, living abroad and contending with what that looks like. But it's really important for us to be able to engage in these conversations, because something that you said was not even knowing what it looks like, right? And not even checking in with ourselves enough to know something isn't right, and being comfortable enough to reach out to that constellation of care to seek the available support.
Yes, because I dealt with high functioning depression for sure after my dad passed. I mean, I am so grateful. And what it looked like for me was I used to fly for work, and I would travel from Atlanta to either California or London. I had international, the client was both. And so on the outside world at the client site, I was doing what I needed to do. I was showing up, I was doing my presenting to anyone else on maybe social media. Oh, she traveling all over the world. She going to here, she going here, flying business class. Obviously the company's paying for it. Everything looked good. But what I would do when I would come home, I would go in the house and I would literally not interact with humans for like 3 days until I had to fly out again. Wow. If that makes any sense, because I would just sit in my room in darkness, or sit on my couch in darkness and just cry, because I was, I hadn't learned effectively how to cope with the loss of my dad, because, it's, I didn't even have it wasn't a bad relationship, but I didn't have a strong relationship with my father. Right. And then because the loss of his life was forcing me to evaluate my own. And then I had become obsessed with my own health. And so all these things were colliding. And so to the outside world, like everything was fine, but I was in a really dark space. I wouldn't say I was suicidal. I was just numb to the world. Right. So I was going through the motions. And one day I was sitting on the couch and I just couldn't stop crying. I was like, got my phone, and I was like, I'm going to find a therapist today. And I use a virtual therapist. It's a virtual app called Doctor on Demand, and it allows you to see your therapist virtually. So I don't even see my therapist in person, but the reason that that's helpful is, as someone who travels and lives abroad, I was able to keep my therapist when I moved abroad.
Exactly.
So that's just a resource for people. And what I like about the app is, one, I can literally see what the person looks like, if you know what I mean, like before I schedule with them, and Google and do some research about the person beforehand, just so that I make sure I'm picking a therapist aligned with the type of help that I need. And I mean, it was a really, really, really low period for me. That was probably, I would say that was the 2018, probably the lowest. But it's what's crazy is even during it, and when I say high functioning, because that put me into grind mode to save aggressively for my gap year, to know that I was going to quit. You know what I mean? So it was high functioning because, like I said, I was still getting shit done. So I was doing what I had to do because I feel like I didn't have a choice. And I so desperately wanted to leave the United States, because of some other things that happened. And so in my mind, I was like, I know it feels, you feel like isolated. Imagine having an amazing support system and I still, you get what I mean, was depressed.
Yes.
So it's not just the access to the support system. It's just like a lot of things happening at once. And I do think that my health, which again, the US was causing my health to be horrible,
Yeah.
and having so many horrible doctor's experiences, because I have something called Chiari malformation. And so it causes you to black out sometime, and you have a whooshing in your ears. So it causes neurological issues, and sleep issues and all this stuff. So it was just compounding, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm in a toxic ass environment. That's part of the reason why this shit is like, the way it is right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm sharing all this because it was like
Thank you.
that being able to get help, one, is what got me out of it.
Yeah.
Because even with the love of my mother was not enough. And I'm sorry, I want to share this too. We also cannot hold ourselves accountable for other people's mental health. And what I mean by that is you cannot love someone out of a depression sometimes. So this is why I advocate for licensed professionals people should seek help from, because even the love of people, I mean, I have unconditional love from so many people in my life. It still wasn't enough to get me out of that depression.
Yeah.
So don't, if you know someone who's going through it and you see signs of it, or, don't hold yourself accountable, but do try to at least equip them or somehow give them access to, or help them find access to, a licensed therapist.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much for being so transparent. Like I always say that the things that we encounter is going to help unlock the healing for others. Our pain is not, our pain has purpose. It does not feel good when you go through it. But when you are able to come out on the other side of these challenging situations and know that you've done something for yourself that was very difficult but rewarding, it's just another level of like just power.
Very empowering.
Yeah, it's really empowering. And
you make it through. Yeah, because that low moment, I'm like, I made it though. I made it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That shit is not fun at all.
It was so many moments. Man, like 2018 was just, it was a year. It wasn't my 20, but most of us 2020 was my 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that you can, and the fact that you can sit and you can reflect on, as challenging as it was, how not that you needed to go through it, but the fact that you were able to get through it and see yourself on the other side. It's just another level of knowing what you are fully capable of and giving yourself permission to again seek the support that's available to you. One of the statements that you made about not being responsible for somebody else's mental health is something that I definitely have to touch on. We feel so sometimes entitled to other people's pain because it gives us a window, a door, out of dealing with our own.
Trauma bonding.
Girl, that trauma bonding is real.
Oh, it's so real.
It's like my mama's, and I'm like you, my mama's prayers cannot cure this anxiety. I believe in God, but I can't pray anxiety away. But I can pray and go see a therapist. And if I need to take medication, I can do that too. All of it's okay. So I think it's really helping our community to shift our attitudes about what does your individualized support and treatment look like, and knowing that those people closest to you can be a part of your healing process, but they cannot heal you.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes, like they're a part of the process, but you cannot attach the success of you overcoming something to them. Just like community is a part of the process of being abroad, but you cannot attach your happiness abroad to that community, if that makes any sense. Like,
that's
leverage it as a resource, but don't let it be the integral thing that you have to be grounded in. You know what I mean? With other outside external things. Ground yourself internally.
Exactly. And a lot of that comes from everything literally comes from a person's childhood, right? Not knowing that you have permission to do this thing for yourself, not knowing that you're good enough to reach out for that help that's available to you, whether you can afford it or not, right? There are resources abound for us to be able to, seek the support, the appropriate licensed support, and whatever other culturally appropriate holistic means of wellness that we can tap into. And as we do this work, we also educate our loved ones and our
Yes.
community that you too can benefit from doing big or small things to help put you in a
Yes.
better mental health and wellness space.
Exactly. And that's why I love these discussions, because even with sharing the app that I use, with sharing, you know, I know you shared a ton of resources, which I actually feel like I need to update and add on your Xpat chats. I just thought about it. Okay. But you know, you've shared resources, you've shared you share free resources. So you know, people, like I say, leverage your community to get access sometimes in case you don't know, but
Yeah.
also do the work and go online. You know, like I literally sat there and I mean, I went through a couple of apps before I landed on this one, because I was looking for a certain type of therapist.
Yeah.
And again, you gotta do the work still to find
To.
one.
I
And you
know.
may not love your first therapist, you know, so you may have to, you know, have a therapist and maybe try someone else. This isn't my first therapist in general in life, but it's my first therapist as an adult.
Yeah.
And she's phenomenal. But again, I did research. Like I looked up, like, okay, what is this person like doing? I wanted someone who's gonna be more holistic versus like recommend, you know, meds to me, right?
Yeah.
So you got to find someone aligned to what you think may work for you or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to, like, let's say you don't want to pick someone who they're all about holistic methods and you're like, no, give me the meds, you know, like, so you got to figure out what works for
Right.
you, and try to find a therapist that's, you know, can accommodate.
Exactly. You have to be in the driver's seat of your healing, right? We can't attribute it to somebody else. They're just a part of the process. And any good therapist will tell you that I am not responsible for your healing journey. I am a conduit to help you do what is best for you.
It's different. Yeah, like I can give you tools.
Yes.
You need to, what they say, you can take the horse to
You
the
can lead
well,
the horse to water, but you cannot make that mug drink.
I'm so good for messing up a quote, but yes, that's the right way to say it.
Well, you know, we have
Yeah.
just, just a few more questions. I know, you know, I don't want to run over to, but the conversation is so good.
No, I'm good. I kept my schedule open for this convo because I was like, I really
Listen, when we talk, we can talk. Okay.
we can talk.
You know, I'm curious, when you think of, what are some of the ways that you believe our culture just endows us with ways to get through things, overcome, support one another?
Oh, okay. First of all, this is something to me that is special and unique about the Black community. I love the way we turn moments that would normally break most people down into, we find the little moments of joy, right?
Yeah.
You get what I mean? You take,
Yeah.
even you go all the way back to slavery, right? They gave us the worst parts of the animal. We made soul food. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, the way that through music we connect with each other across the globe, and that our music really like influences so many other cultures. Our food as well are here. Like there is something very unique about how we have taken the struggle and we have made it something to celebrate, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the universal head nod. You know, there's an understanding
Everywhere.
yeah, except for the UK. I'm like, y'all, I'm like, I was trying to win the first place. I'm like, y'all don't do the universal head nod. But yeah, it's just, you know, it's one of those things where sometimes I'm reading like Twitter threads and stuff, and it's about like our community. It's like an inside joke, right?
Yes.
And I love that about us. And I love the fact that for many of us, despite the fact of how we are treated externally by other people and other cultures, I would choose to be Black any day, all day. You know what I mean? Like I would never choose to be any other race. And I love that about us. So I mean, because there's a certain richness in our experiences. And I love the fact that we can be pro-Black without being anti-other races, if that makes any sense.
Exactly.
Like, you know, I can be very proud of my Blackness, but it's not to the detriment or me tearing down other races. Like, I think every race should find things that they're proud of and should honor that. But you shouldn't have to honor it by tearing down somebody else's race, if that makes any sense.
I fully agree with that. So, you know, something that you said was we find the joy in the difficult moments. And just even living abroad, you have to be able to do that. Again, it takes me to the whole, what are you seeking? I'm working toward the presence of joy in my life, even though things seem to be falling apart, right? But sometimes things have to fall apart and break up in order for them to be appropriately pieced together.
Yes. And you got to honor those moments, and there's seasons as well. Like one of the things that I noticed, like moving abroad, you're going to have your seasons, right? You know, you got that fresh when you first get here, you're all excited, you know, meet people, everything. And then you had that period of like shit's getting real because you got to go through the
November.
formalities sometimes. You know, and then you have that period sometimes of like, okay, I'm here, I'm settled, and you know, may find yourself coasting a bit, you know, meaning like you're still enjoying yourself, but it's not as exciting as it may have been when you first got here.
Right.
I honor all those seasons, and I love them all for different reasons. You know, the excitement part, the part where I'm just chilling, the part where I'm like, frustrated, you know, because again, it makes it worthwhile. It's such a really interesting journey. And you find yourself learning a lot about yourself through these experiences too, because I've learned so much about myself. Like, I never thought I was an outdoor person. I am. I'm an outdoor person. I never thought I was an outdoor person. But living abroad and enjoying being outside and just breathing in fresh air, going on hikes, I never did that in the States. Seriously. I never thought I was a beach person. Again, I am.
Girl, yes. I don't like being swimming in the water, but I'll be on that. I'll be on the beach all day, read.
Oh man, I never thought I was a beach person. That's what I'm saying. So it's like you really do discover new ways, and we evolve. So you know, maybe it was true when I was younger, I wasn't a beach person, but I am now, and maybe I wasn't an outdoor person. But again, it's giving yourself the grace and opportunity to evolve, and by being in these foreign spaces, it's like sometimes you are able to tap into these things because your environment has changed, or you're around and meeting new people who are exposing you to new things and new ways of life, or just Sharolyn, come on this hike. I'm like, and then all of a sudden loving it, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, that's why I'm like, you know, I love the overseas experience because it's not just about being able to gloat about how great it is and all that stuff, but it's also like it's learning for me. Like I'm learning a lot about myself out here.
Yeah, I really like that. I think, you know, you said, you know, you'll come in contact with people that kind of expand your horizons. I think one of the key things to that is that you have to choose that, right? You have to choose to be open to these things that people are giving you. It's honestly kind of like shedding. And then, you know, you stated how maybe at 18, that wasn't your thing, right? Because your environment was not conducive to engaging in that space.
It wasn't. Yeah.
But now that you've chosen to call Portugal home, and then you have these things that are readily available to you, it is a constant shedding of the old thing that we never thought that we would engage in, a shedding of, you know, not giving ourselves permission to be happy in the midst of whatever, and just being able to connect with different parts of yourself that we sometimes don't even know are there, but when you are in this new place, it just like, it births this just new level of awareness and like just a level of different spirit. Hell, I know what I'm trying to say. I cannot articulate.
No, I get exactly the sentiment of what you're saying. It's like you are put in a position where because of being in this new environment around new people, you can tap into things you never was tapping into because they weren't ignited, they weren't activated, right? You know, like we're not gonna be. I mean, I'm sure there are opportunities to hike in. Like I said, we live in Detroit and then in the suburbs of Southfield, but like I just never went hiking, right? Like I just never did it. And even I remember after leaving London, coming back to Atlanta has some nice hiking trails. And again, it was after being abroad, I was like, ooh, let me check this out, you know, and I would have never done that on my own, right? But it was after being exposed to hiking opportunities while I was in the UK that I felt like, or through traveling, that I was like, oh, this is dope. You know, and it's actually fun. And I found myself being so much more adventurous and being an outdoors person. And I was like, is this really me? It is. Like I love the outdoors now. Yeah.
And it's good for your mental health. That's one of the things that, you know, we tell clients is if you notice that you are lethargic, not much energy, not really engaged, get outside. Get outside, soak up the sun, nature.
Sunshine. Yes. I gotta tell like people, man, I mean, I know whatever, they've done a ton of studies, but like real talk, give yourself access to sunshine. If you live somewhere where there's not a lot of sun, I don't even know what you should do. But for those of you who have some level of sun, and when you're picking a place to live, try to find a place that has natural light.
Yes.
It makes a world of difference. And I'm saying this as someone who lived in London, didn't have a lot of natural light in the place I was staying, to moving here now and having so much natural light that like I really need to turn on my lights in the earlier part of the day. So it makes a difference though. Like it's hard to just sleep in the bed all day when like the sun is beaming through, you know,
outside.
It's like it makes a difference. So your environment just definitely helps. Yeah,
it is, and that's a part of doing the homework, like doing the research about what part of the world is going to be conducive to your growth
Yes,
as a person.
yes,
You don't have to go somewhere. Well, I would imagine if you're told to go somewhere, that'd be different, but you can still find
yeah,
ways to make it work. But if you are
yeah,
choosing to embark on this journey, like, the world is yours, and
exactly. Pick a place
really,
that makes sense for you.
exactly. But it cannot be, well, I know that there are people that they just pick up, they move on a whim. I am not that person. I don't
No, I
believe
plan it.
that most Black people that I know don't
Mhm.
really do that, right?
No, I
So
plan it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, do your due diligence, do your homework, and be
Yes.
open to all of the potential experiences, good and bad, because it's not all gravy every day,
Yeah.
that you can encounter. So
Yeah.
I don't know. So one, what do you think? What do you hope when it comes to like the preferred future, best
Mhm.
hopes for mental health in our community as Black people everywhere in the world? What would your best hopes be?
For one, I would love to see more Black licensed professionals in this space
Yes.
because I 100% believe that no matter how empathetic you are and how caring, how you move through the world does influence your
Yes.
perspectives
Oh,
and
yes.
your ability to relate and connect and help people. So, not saying that all Black therapists are going to be great for Black people, but
Right.
I do think that Black people need Black therapists, if that makes any
I
sense.
100% agree, and I understand.
Yeah, and it's not to say that I mean, I've had therapists, I've had an Indian therapist before when I was in grad school, and a white therapist, like, well, actually I went to a white therapist once when I was younger. And I really do, from those experiences, those three different experiences, now I have a Black therapist, female therapist. I 100% wholeheartedly believe that not everyone, but most Black people should go to a Black therapist. So I would
You
love to see more therapists. Yeah.
fabulous. Like, I know, like, even in Houston, there's an organization called Melanin and Mental Health, two Black women, one Black
Uh-huh.
Latina. And the whole
Uh-huh.
concept is to change the face of therapy, not only on the
Yes.
couch, but in front of the couch. It's, you know,
Yes.
we just have a different level of understanding. And that, again, does not take away from any other professional.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to being multicultural, cultural, the level of culture competence
Awareness.
is that every therapist, Black, Indian, white, Asian, Hispanic, and otherwise should have. Um,
Hmm.
it's just really important to know that you have the ability to get through whatever it
Yes.
is that you are currently experiencing, and that there are people that understand that without even needing to be explained.
Exactly. Because I remember my therapist in grad school, the reason I stopped going to her, she would like sit on the edge of her seat listening to me talk to her about things, and as if it was
Like
like a
that.
show, a TV
Yeah.
show. Yeah. And then she would like open everything up and she never closed it. So she would open up all these raw emotions and say things that make me feel worse and never close it out. And I was like, part of this is a lack of her inability to help me was part of it. To me, there was some lack of cultural understanding, if that made any sense.
Mhm.
Sorry, cultural context. Maybe that's a better way to say it. There was
Yeah.
a cultural context that was missing. And so there was a disconnect. And so after those experiences, I was really grounded in like, I need a Black therapist. And that's why when I finally did again, all the way until I was like 20, my young 20s back then, but it wasn't until like 15 plus years. It was some time later before I got another therapist.
Yeah.
And that time I made sure I got a Black and I get a female because some of the things, that I wanted to talk about, I wanted a female's perspective as well.
Exactly. So if whomever's watching and listening, which hopefully it's lots of people,
Yes.
there are so many resources available when it comes to seeking familiar faces,
Yeah.
similar experiences in your licensed profession.
Licensed keyword. Please make sure people are licensed.
Yes.
Seriously.
So I want to kind of shift to impact, right? I The things that you are passionate about at this stage in your life,
Mhm.
what is the impact that you believe you are making and that you would like to make into the future when it comes to the work that you're doing?
Oh man, so much. So I have such big visions for Expat and just for my life in general. One of the things that I really want people, regardless of race, like live life on your own terms. Really, genuinely evaluate what you want in life, without anyone else's outside influence on your decision. Like it just, it's so hard to do that because we live in a world where they want you to have a certain type of job. They want you to be married by a certain age, to have kids by a certain age, live in a big house. You may not even want a big house,
Yeah.
but the expectations and the way that we're socialized. So, like, really genuinely think about what type of life you want to live and start working towards that lifestyle, right? The other thing, and it takes time, right? Nothing happens overnight. The other impact I would love to have is just for people to see the beauty and the richness in our stories, through these international experiences, and to, I really want to challenge, right? Like the fact that, like, oh, Black people don't do that. Yes, we do. Like, yes, we do. We travel abroad, we swim, we thrive, we're entrepreneurs. You get what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we do so much. And so impact wise, I want not just for us to see ourselves abroad, but for the rest of the world to see us as well. And that's why in the app I focus so much on these features, because I'm like, it's
Love it.
about taking our stories and putting them out there mainstream so that people can really be inspired. And it's not just about like how it put this way, if you live in a country where the only way people see people who look like you is online and on TV and it's negative, that does influence how you get treated, opportunities that are going to be extended to you.
Yep.
So I want to change the narrative to more positive because there's so much beauty in our experiences and who we are and how diverse we are as a community, but that's not shown in mainstream media sometimes. And so because of that, especially in certain areas, like I know in Asia, like people coming up trying to take photos and stuff because they think you're a celebrity, like only a Black celebrity could afford to be here, right? And it's like I don't want it to be uncommon for someone to see a Black person in Asia or surpass Asia. You know what I mean? I don't want it to be uncommon for someone to see a Black woman choosing herself instead of corporate America in money. I don't want that to be uncommon. I actually want to make it more, So just changing impact wise, I wanted to help change that narrative, some of these false narratives, right? And then the other thing, like really long term. So I guess I can share it here because it's like I'm putting on the universe. I'm like, I'm not afraid anymore to
Yes,
share it.
throw it out
I'm
there.
going to be working on, it's actually my first time talking about this publicly, but I'm working on an expat world tour. So I'll be going around on the ground to these different communities, talking to our expat communities in person, filming a documentary because I want to really, really get our stories out there on much bigger platforms. So I can't wait. I have a whole list. I'm working on partnerships to help support. Obviously, you need funding for something like this,
And you will get it.
and I can't wait to put our stories on the big screen. Like, because as I get to meet more people, it's too good for it not to be shared. It's so much inspiration. I look at Margot's story, I'm very impressed. I look at Julie's story, I'm very, like there's so many women here, Sin's story, and it's so much richness in our experiences, and I just want to share it with the world. So that is like a part of the bigger platform.
Oh my
that I'm
God. Okay. I just gotta interject. So like uncanny because I swear to God that I was having the same dream not a week ago where it was like I was on a plane going somewhere else in the world. We about to be talking about mental health and expats and like a TV show or where we can like get it out to the world because this is needed. And girl, listen.
Yes.
Oh,
I know. And it's nothing. So I can share this with you, like, and the reason I feel comfortable sharing it, because sometimes I hold things close to my heart because I'm like, I don't want anyone to steal my idea. And I'm like, no, it's no, I'm talking about like before why I wouldn't share. But the reason I'm sharing it with you is because I was like, we have to get in a mental space of abundance and understanding that all of us can do these stories. You get what I'm trying to say? All of us can do how many people have podcasts, have pages and stuff dedicated to being Black and abroad. It's like, yes, celebrate all of them. And there's space for all of us because these stories need to be told. Because guess what? Each of us has something unique to bring to the table.
Exactly.
Right? I would love to watch a show like that, literally. And so it's like,
and
I'm scared to share it because, and I've shared it privately. It's like, oh, so-and-so is working on this. I'm like, that's great. And I'm still going to do it too. You get what I'm trying to say? Because we all have something unique to offer. And it's amazing that like, like there's something bubbling up, and I just, I want to capture it. I want to capture it because it's quite amazing and impressive to me. Not that Black people haven't been traveling abroad before and living abroad. It's the living abroad part that to me is getting more visibility now.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And it is a movement of visibility of us. I mean, it's the visibility increasing, not that we've never been, living
Right,
abroad. I mean,
right.
we did that expat video showing all people who moved abroad before us, the
Yeah.
ancestors who, trailblazed for us.
Hmm.
So I know we've been doing this, but it's the visibility that's changing and the way in which we're going about. Not everyone's trying to escape racism. Some of us just want joy, right? But
Yeah.
it's not necessarily leaving and running away from something. Some people just like, they moved abroad for love. They moved abroad because they just want to check out a new place and learn a new culture, learn a new language. So I want those stories to be shared, and I cannot wait. These things take some time, but I cannot wait to get to a point where I can actually share these stories with everybody, because our community is
I'm so
phenomenal.
freaking excited. Whenever I make more money, I will do whatever I can to support. It's so weird. My mom was just like, I see it happening, but it just feels like there's this fire brimming underneath
Yes.
all of the
And
possibilities.
you're already doing the work. You may not even realize it. What you're doing right now is already laying the foundation for it.
I'll accept that.
Yeah. No, it's already, the wheels are already turning, the foundation's already, listen, brick by brick, it happens. It happens. And the thing is, even if I don't get funding, guess who's going to go out there and do the documentary still? I am. I believe that much in it.
One of my closest friends is
Mhm.
a director who does documentaries. So I will.
I know that's the other reason why I'm like, share it, because you never know what resources are available once you
I'll
share.
make sure to
So
send you her connect.
yeah, thank you.
Amazing.
Because I can't wait.
Thank you for sharing that. Like, it's going to happen.
Yeah, because I'm going to do it myself. If I have to go out there with my iPhone on the ground and you get what I'm trying to say, capture the footage, then and be in Canva trying to put it together. It's going to happen, because once my mind is set on something. Yeah, if I say once my mind is set on something, I'm going to do it, and so it's happening. Yeah, it may not be today, whatever, but you get what I mean. Like, I'm going to do what I need to do, because I really wholeheartedly believe in the power of our stories. And ultimate impact. My goal is to be a philanthropist, so that I'm the one writing the checks and not having to ask for permission for money for other people. To support study abroad more, because that's one of the biggest and most impactful ways to get our community abroad, and to support non-traditional gap years. So people who may be in their 40s or 50s who want to take a career break, but they don't necessarily have the funding to do so. I would, again, my long-term goal is to be in a position financially to be able to provide these opportunities for people, because I know how life-changing it is from my own personal experience. And I'm like, I feel very equipped to lead that charge,
Yeah. Listen, whenever you get like the mechanics, whatever, I will do whatever I can to support, because
Beijing already on the list, but I was like, I gotta get invited. I was looking up the how to get. I think I gotta get invited, like visa wise and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's why I was like, oh, but it's on the list, and I have it's definitely on the list. So is Hong Kong, but Hong Kong I can go to, but I think for Beijing I would need to be invited. Yeah,
got 2.5 years. If you come up here, then it's gonna be my exit. It's same. I will be making my way to Portugal. Okay.
Yes. No. Listen, Portugal welcome you with open arms. It's such a dope community out here. I'm telling you, it's
so
really
excited. Oh, I'm just so excited. So let me ask you this: how do you believe that you tapped into your gifts, your strengths, in order to hold space for people to, to create opportunities for others in our community?
Well, I know, like, for example, I went to Spelman on scholarship, right? That's the only way I could have afforded Spelman was through the kindness extended to me by others through scholarship, and then grad school scholarship or fellowship. So for me, like, I am paying it forward because I'm here because of the kindness of other people who financially helped me secure like the funding that I needed to, live out my dreams and do what I needed to do. And it would be like almost shameful not to pay it forward, right? Like, it'd be kind of audacious. Like, the world has poured so much into me. And obviously I worked hard for those scholarships. They were academic scholarships, but it doesn't change the fact that someone somewhere thought enough of other people to open up the door for other people.
Yeah.
So as I'm on this journey, I'm definitely going to keep opening the door for other people, because I know for a fact I am here because somebody else did this for me, you know? It's total strength. People I don't even know, right, have taken their hard-earned money
Yeah.
to ensure, of all races, right, to ensure that I was provided with a certain opportunity. And that's one more thing I want to kind of talk about, because I'm very pro-Black, but it doesn't mean I'm anti other races. And so,
Yeah.
like, the resources shared, the opportunities shared, anyone can benefit from them. But I'm focusing on the Black community, right? But if other people come on the app or read watch an expat chats or watch a documentary or whatever, and they enjoy it, like, so be it. Like, you're more than welcome to. But I just want to be clear about, like, my focus will be the Black community, because I'm Black, and that is the place from which I understand what our struggles are, and also what our opportunities are as well. So
Exactly.
I'm excited. Like, I'm really excited about life, and that's why I can open space for others, because I know that it's the gift that keeps giving. I'm poured into so much, and the community is the one who has opened up opportunities for me as well. The CNBC feature that helped Expat grow so much, that was shared with me by not just one, two different people, connecting me with the director, with the opportunity, right? And it was a community. The Travel New York feature, again, the community is the one who connected me to opportunity.
Right.
And so these things help grow our platform. I don't take it for granted that the community is looking out for me, right? As much as I'm looking out for them, they're looking out for me too. And that's why I do feel people like, you should charge for the app and all these other things. And I'm like, listen, finances are one of the biggest reasons why we don't go abroad. I'm not going to go put that barrier, you know what I mean, over the access to the information.
Yeah.
I will find other ways, and I believe in it enough that, as I said, I invest my own money into the app, into building it and keeping it going. So I wholeheartedly believe in the application and the community, but also I feel a responsibility to pay it forward because of the fact that somebody paid it for it for me, Yeah.
If you, I don't even have a follow-up. All I can say is, like, when you've been gifted with so much, it is our responsibility to pass that on.
It is
Right.
100%. Like, think about it. You could have easily done a YouTube channel on just or shared on just your experience, but no, you opened up your platform to allow other people to do that. And that is impressive to me, because so many people will just have a self-centered, focused platform. But it's like, no, you're taking your gift and you're opening it up so that other people can share their gifts. And it's really, really powerful, because exponentially you're able to allow the benefits of your gift to reach more people and other people's gifts, right? And and the power, you put it this way, it's other people's stories that have helped me get to where I am, because I've found inspiration through other people's journeys. So this is why I'm like, sharing these stories, focusing on the mental health is genius, right? Because it's an area I don't know anyone else. People focus on like thriving and feeling good and things like that, but I'm talking about, like, you know what I mean, like a licensed therapist. So you're in a lane that you're able to carve out for yourself, and it's something that we need, And I'm so grateful for it, because it keeps the conversation going in a way that is organic and that our community can relate to. We you know what I mean.
I totally know what you mean, and I appreciate that accolade. It's
Mhm.
every story is different, yet
good.
every story is the same. Like, there are through lines in every conversation that I've had, but they've all been super unique. And it just
Yes.
really makes me think about, again, back to your comment about, because you've been poured into so much, it's only the right thing to do it, right? It makes me think about just, our foundation is strong. Look who I'm wearing. I mean, seriously, the level of fortitude and strength and just perseverance that she's had to have to pass down to generations. We are literally walking on the foundation that generations of men, women, children, people have laid for us. And so it's like, what does it look like to, first off, accept that we have a responsibility to continue to put that forward, and know that whatever our gift is, it is enough.
Yes. And it's yours.
Yeah.
Even if 30 million people come out and say they're doing a documentary about Black people being abroad tomorrow, I will support. Do you want to know why? I genuinely want our stories to be shared.
Yeah.
And it's a greater opportunity that will happen if more people are doing it.
Yeah.
And so I say that to encourage people, when you all see someone maybe doing something that you feel like you're doing, don't go into the scarcity mindset. Do not, please embrace and leave space open for other people to thrive too.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Exactly.
It doesn't dim your light anymore. You know what I mean? Because somebody else's light. You get what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah,
it
it's not pie. It's not pie. If you take it, that means I don't get. It's not like that at all. There is enough abundance, abounding for everyone to do well.
Oh my gosh, I've had so many people reach out to me like, oh, I'm trying to build an app, but not so many. I've had a few people reach out to me saying like they want to build an app for expats, but because I built one, now they don't want to do it. And I'm like, that makes no sense. Do you know how many Burger Kings, McDonald's there are? You know how many? Look at Rihanna with Fenty Beauty, right? And lingerie. Like you cannot, you don't have to be the first. You don't even got to be the best, to be honest. But do what you've been called to do. Stop comparing yourself to other people, because there's something unique about what you're going to do. Okay, Expat App has a directory. Maybe yours has amazing expat guides for people to help them get settled, right? Right? Like, you never know. So I'm telling people, like, do the thing you've been called to do and stop getting discouraged because something somebody said or something somebody else is doing.
Right.
You know,
it makes me think about, because I had trepidations about doing. I am so reluctant to call it a podcast when essentially that's what it is. I just don't have the audio part figured out yet, right? My mom was like, she always says, never despise the day of humble beginnings. If you cannot be excellent with the little that you have, you are not ever going to get the abundance that is literally waiting there for you. Girl, I've been in my head so much about, but I'm just in my apartment and it's this and my camera not clear. And then I was like, shut the hell up, Kendall. Because
everybody got to start somewhere. Listen, because guess what? This is literally, I guarantee if you were to talk to all the people who have, the big podcast, whatever now, guess where they started? With one follower, with one podcast. Some people in the freaking, in the closet because it has the best audio I've heard. You get what I mean? So like Expat started on sticky notes. I'm not even being funny. Sticky notes that I was positioning, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this here. Like, man, respect the humble beginnings, respect the game. Like, there's a certain part of the process that there is no shortcut. Yeah, there's no shortcut, and you just got to do the work. I think we do a bit of a disservice when we don't show the work, but the reason I haven't shown a lot of the work because I'm doing it and I don't have time to be sitting there video recording. So, but if you talk to me, I'll tell you, like, hella work goes into this, I outsourced the development for the app because I realized from a previous app that I tried to build that me building it myself was not working on my timeline that I wanted to work on. So also know how to outsource, I would say.
Exactly.
Because sometimes, we will try to do and be all things and do everything, and it's not scalable or sustainable to do everything.
It's not. So with you saying that, it makes me think the power of writing, right? Or, blogging or whatever. So that, because what we're doing right now is literally the manual for somebody else's success.
Yes. And you got to just do the work. Even when, like, for expat chats, I promised myself, I was like, okay, Sharolyn, you need to, like, don't ever, like, no matter what you're doing, don't stop that. That is something that people get value from. So even if you do an app, don't stop expat chats, right? And find ways to keep it, going pretty much, so that even if I'm not the one interviewing, I can have someone else, interview people, but I want to keep it going, as long as possible, forever. Sharing the stories. So there's actually so many stories. I mean, it's quite a lot of people stories to share. So you never know. I say start with where you are today. Don't get discouraged looking at someone else's where they're at, because we all started with 0 followers at some point. We all started with 0 podcasts, 0 episodes, chats, or whatever, and 0 people on the app. I remember when it was just 10 people on there. So you really have to. And I read a quote once and I really loved it. And it was about, be okay with doing the work when no one's clapping, applauding, or acknowledging it. Right? Yeah. Because that will keep you going. Put it this way, if you posting and everything is only like, oh, if I don't get a certain number of views or if enough people don't like this, I'm going to take it down or I'm going to stop. I'm like, no, you got to keep going because it takes time for these things to grow.
Your motivation got to be right, though.
Yeah, there was this guy called Marty Woodward. He has, I follow him on IG. I don't know him, but he said most people aren't afraid of failure; they're afraid of public failure. And the reason that I love that quote so much is because that's me. I have hoarded information that I know I could share about travel because I was too afraid of it not being received by people a certain way, and or I didn't want people to think I was bragging. And I'm like, that's so stupid. Imagine how many people you could have helped with your guides. You know what I mean? From
Yeah,
your travel experiences if you would have just shared what what you did.
exactly.
So I think it's important to, again, one, do the work, but two, don't let outside influences stop you from doing what you've been called to do or discourage you. So
Yeah,
it's been, yeah.
I'm with that. It's I yeah. Like I fully agree.
Yeah,
So we've come to the part, we could talk forever, honestly.
I know.
So we've come to the part where I like to do a little rapid round of questions. So we'll do that, and then I'll give you your last words, and then we will say au revoir. So how do you say bye in Portuguese?
Oh, ciao.
Say
It sounds like
ciao
French. Yeah, ciao.
to the Black and Abroad audience. But so are you ready for the rapid round?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. What is one word that you would use to describe yourself?
Free.
Oh, girl, yes. Okay. Favorite country to visit?
Ooh. Oh God, this is Jamaica.
Okay.
I'm biased.
Okay. Mine is
Biased.
definitely Bali. I love visiting Bali.
Jamaica.
And when you think about self-care, what is the most impactful self-care practice that you engage in?
Sleep.
Yes. What are you reading right now?
Oh, I'm supposed to be. My thing is sitting on it. I'm supposed to be reading this book called Launch.
Okay.
What is it? Look at me. I don't even know the name of it. Oh yeah, it's called Launch. Yeah, I'm supposed to be reading it, and it's currently being used to hold up my laptop for sessions. So I'll let you know where I am at with it right now. But I will read it.
Okay, we got future plans.
Mhm.
So, what do you love most about your culture?
Oh man, the sauce. I don't even know another word to use. We are so like, there's just an organic I don't finessing. I don't know if that's the right
Yeah,
word to use. It's just ah, I'm
exactly.
saying sauce because I don't know like what other word to use, but we have it. The it factor. You
Yeah,
either
it's
have it
the
or you don't.
essence.
And I love that about us. There is
Yeah,
a universal just understanding that we have amongst each other, if you know what I mean.
yes,
So
I got you. And the
yeah.
last question, or the last, thing that I want to ask is if you have a favorite quote, affirmation that you'd like to share with the audience today.
Go where you grow and never stop exploring. I really, really encourage people to go where you grow. If this ain't working, all right, go somewhere else, you
Right.
know? Yeah. And one of the affirmations that I've recently, thanks to you, is, it's about grace because I'm in a period where I need to extend a lot of grace to myself and to other people. And so my affirmation is, I'm going to give myself grace, especially during the times when I think I don't deserve it, because those are the times when I need it the most. So yeah, that's been my affirmation
I'm
that I need to
so
give myself.
happy. Oh my God. Like,
No, thank you. No, thank you for that. I remember you had a post or something. I was like, man, I need to schedule some time with Kendall because she get me together online. Let me schedule some time with her for real, for real. So I need to schedule some time. Yeah.
listen, it has been like I already know that this is a friendship that will last, right?
Yes,
Whether
oh,
we're in the
absolutely. And
same
especially
place
look,
or not.
collab on a documentary. So
Listen, we're gonna make it
because I
happen.
have so many, I want to do different topics, like families abroad, being single abroad, LGBTQIA, you know what I mean, within the
Yeah,
expat community. I want to tackle all of those.
yes,
So yeah, yes,
I
yeah,
got you.
yeah.
I got you. Listen, I am
Uh,
so grateful, like
me
beyond
too.
grateful
Very
for
much so.
your time. You are the episode that has capped off season 1 of Black and Abroad, and I cannot be more happy about the knowledge, the
Thank you.
transparency, the honesty, and the nuggets that you've just dropped today. It has been beyond amazing.
No, and I have to say to you, thank you for creating this space, because there's a level of wisdom and brilliance that you have in just being able to pull that out of people. Because you create such a safe space in such an organic way, and I'm like, thank you for that, because I don't always feel safe sharing things, but I
Yeah,
felt very comfortable here, and
thank
we
you.
are grateful for you. You know what I mean? Our whole
Yeah,
community, because like I said, I would love to see more, Black therapists, in using your platform in a way that is global. You know what and that's very, very impactful. And I can't wait to just continue to see how your journey goes, because I already know this is like barely scratching the surface of what you're going to continue to do.
that's the
So
goal.
thank
That's
you so
I'm
much.
thank you
Yes.
for that. I take that, I accept that.
No, you
I
good. You're
catch
doing a
that
phenomenal
too.
job. I'm like, I was listening to one of the episodes and I didn't get to finish it, and I was like, I need to go back to that one because I was catching some gems. So
Girl, thank you so much, Shar. Oh, I'm trying not to get emotional. Although crying is not, it's
no,
okay.
it's fine. Yes,
People,
I told you. I was
I
like,
just,
it's okay, yeah. Because you
I'm
feel
like,
connected.
yeah,
And the universe will connect you, like I said. And I'm so grateful for Ty, because of the fact
yes,
that, Ty really, I mean, when she reached out, I was like, as soon as she said it, I was like, please sign me up. Where do I sign? So you're hitting a spot that's needed in our community. And I'm so glad that this is happening, because I don't think we realize like the impact of that mental piece, right?
yeah,
It's critical.
yeah,
Money is important, but that mental piece is so, so critical.
exactly. You want to have the mental
You're
health
doing the Lord's work right
with
now. You don't even
everything.
realize it.
Right.
Seriously, yes.
So then I want to close out by saying thank you again, Shar, for this amazing, impactful episode. And thank you to everyone in the world that is watching Black and Abroad today. I encourage you to keep taking risks, keep impacting your communities, and most importantly, keep prioritizing your mental health. Please share this episode and the whole series with your community, and know that we have so much more in store for your viewing pleasure and learning. And with that, I am going to say ciao to you
Ciao.
all. Bye.
Thank you so much, Kendall.
Thank you.